The Milwaukee Brewers get themselves back in the win column with a major game against the Chicago Cubs. We're already breaking this down as we are closing out the series in next game, as well as a move that is set to be made by the Milwaukee Brewers from their organization. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video, and you're going to want to stick around until the end to figure out what's going on with the prospect. But before we do get into all of this news here today, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen. As I've been mentioning, we have so much Brewers news to cover as we're currently in the midst of the most important season of the year. And we also noticed that just over 98% of you guys watching right now are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot for all of your Milwaukee Brewers news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're covering it all throughout the season. And as I mentioned, a major win against the Cubs here today, and a 4-1 victory, getting us back another win, stealing one from the Cubs and separating that gap in the NL quite a bit bigger. And this game was certainly one that the Brewers need to take away. Once again, we've seen some past few games with the Brewers losing to the Cubs, the doubleheader last game as well. Not the greatest set of games, but ultimately when you're coming into this game here, you're going up against a pitcher like Shota Imanaga. He is a pitcher that, very, very good. Good stuff, good velo, good everything. And coming into this game, he pitched 8 innings, still ultimately got the loss, which I think is a big thing that the Brewers can take away from this. Now, I'm going to kind of jump into the pitching side of things here in a moment, but of course, as we kind of dive into this as well, one thing that we've been speaking about over the last little while with these Brewers games is the bullpen. And, going over every single game that we cover and every single game that we take a look at, the pitching on the bullpen has been a lot different compared to some other teams. The Brewers like to share the arms around every game, and we saw during the doubleheader, or the game before the doubleheader, may not have been the best idea, because when you're going against the final game against the Reds, you wanted to save your arms for the Cubs when most pitched throughout the game, so keep that in mind before we do jump into that. But I want to take a look at the offense here as well today, and ultimately, another very good game. 7 hits, 4 runs, could have certainly been more, but when you're coming down to it and taking a look at it, a win is a win, and however you get it, it don't really matter. It don't matter if it's 3 hits, 4 runs, you still win the game, you win the game. That's the big thing as well. But Bryce Touring as well, the 2 are on the home run, and ultimately getting us on the board and ultimately putting us in a very good winning position. He's been a player that has been absolutely phenomenal this year. 286 average, 779 OPS. And seeing him come out here with a few other players, playing their game, ultimately is just a very good thing. Not too much to say on the offensive side of things as well, but it's good to just see Joey Ortiz back as well after that little bruise on the knee, I believe it was, from that foul ball. So taking a look at the offense once again, always great to see everybody throwing a little bit of stuff in here. But when we do head over to the pitching, here's where I was talking about the kind of different look compared to every team. You see Quinn Priester start this game, 3 hits and 4 and a third, and ultimately getting a little bit of trouble there, but working out very, very well. 5 walks is definitely not the greatest, but when it comes down to it, if he could keep those numbers as it is, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks, 3.44 ERA, that's perfectly fine. They got out of it, and that's the big thing. Now, Nick Mears came in here, finished that inning off, and then you went down the list once again of a different pitcher every inning, with Trevor McGill coming in and closing this game out. Very good sign that the bullpen is continuing to do this. 2 walks from Uribe. Once again, not the greatest thing you want to see from a reliever, but ultimately getting out of it, getting a strikeout, that's all you can ask for, even though still got in a little bit of trouble. But this game ultimately was not a bad one for the Brewers. A big win, getting back into the win column, and let's get another one here tomorrow against the Cubs for the final game. Now, I did want to pull up a little different update here today, and this comes from MLB Sam Dykstra, as well as Jonathan Mayo. They recently suggested the Brewers could call up top catching prospect that is, Jeferson Quero, in the coming weeks to help with their postseason push. Now, this would be a move that was a bit interesting when it comes down to it, because of course this team did end up trading for Danny Jansen to add some catching depth on this team, and ultimately would lead us into a very interesting position, because when you're taking a look at William Contreras, Danny Jansen, both very good catchers, both good at the plate, Danny Jansen just hasn't caught that kind of wave yet to get there, but Jeferson Quero obviously is still a very important piece of this team's future. And as we take a look at what's coming up for the next couple of years, and you see the ETA there, of course, Jesus Mate, Luis Pena, 2028, Cooper Pratt, 2027, but Jeferson Quero is projected to make that debut here this year. So hopefully this will be the case, and I'm going to kind of go over as well. Another interesting thing throughout this article really kind of points out here. It's saying the Brewers have gotten some decent production from their backup catcher spot over the last few weeks, but Jeferson Quero is a better answer. Danny Jansen has appeared in 4 consecutive games for the Brewers, and he holds an OPS below 700 on the season, and if Milwaukee can replace that role with the aforementioned Quero, they would be better. And I really don't think that having this lineup, putting us into a position where you have 3 catchers, you could DH, you could catch, you can put us anywhere, this team has a lot of kind of depth that they can work with, and even if you keep Danny Jansen out of game, and of course he's played a couple in a row here now at this point, he would be a player that would be a very, very good backup, bench, third option, very good defensive catcher, but when you have Jeferson Quero, William Contreras, you know that those two are really going to kind of highlight the catching side of things for this team. So I kind of want to pull that up and get your guys' opinion on it as well, because, I feel like there's really no negative on this side of things. Having Jeferson Quero come up, having him be able to get into this lineup is something that I think everybody's looking forward to, and especially the way he's been playing as of late. And, as I mentioned, it's pretty evident that he can make that jump to the MLB, to the Brewers at this point. Batting 300 on the season gives him the option. But one also interesting thing that could be a big kind of idea to bring 3 catchers into this lineup is when you're taking a look at William Contreras, where he's played this year, played one game at first, 1 game in left field, and that caused a few questions. Hey, could the Brewers potentially try and move him around this field? Could they potentially try to make him go out and put him in a different location? I think that when you're heading towards the postseason, probably not the best idea, but if the option is there, it's there, and I think you can almost count first out now with Andrew Vaughn and Rhys Hoskins in the lineup, but the outfield is a very interesting question. But I do have one more note before we do finish this video off. Chourio Ortiz's injury tonight, we have no update on it from Todd Rosiak, and the left hamstring injury is what it is. They don't know severity at this point, which is not a great look for someone who's been so hot as of late, great in the field, and who's really coming together at the plate. This is one thing that we hope is obviously just minor, but at this point we do not know. So after making the comeback here and then ultimately out again, not the best look for him in this case, but hopefully, as I mentioned, everything is all good. So that's all I got in this video. Let me know what you think about the game, as well as Jeferson Quero coming up. I'm very curious to see what you think about that, but like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.